The night began with a warning, delivered softly but firmly, the kind of sentence that carried rules and dared you to break them. "One night," she said, eyes steady, voice calm. "That's all you get." It wasn't cold. It wasn't cruel. It was honest. And honesty, when spoken with courage, can be intoxicating. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I didn't promise anything I couldn't keep. I only smiled and answered with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you'll give everything you have to a single moment. "Then I'll make it unforgettable," I said. Not as a challenge. As a vow. We met because life has a strange sense of timing. Two people arriving at the same place from opposite directions, both carrying their own quiet storms. She had built walls carefully, brick by brick, after learning that expectations are often just future disappointments. I had learned something else, that some moments are worth everything, even if they don't last. We weren't searching for forever. We were searching for truth, even if it only lived for a night. The city around us breathed in neon and shadow. Streetlights reflected off rain-dark pavement, and the air smelled like promise mixed with uncertainty. We walked without rushing, letting silence do some of the talking. There was comfort in that silence, a rare ease that didn't ask for explanations. Sometimes the most powerful connection forms when no one is trying too hard to impress. She told me her rule wasn't about fear. It was about control. About choosing herself in a world that constantly asked her to give more than she wanted. One night meant no messy endings, no unanswered messages weeks later, no wondering what she could have done differently. One night was clean. Safe. Contained. I listened, really listened, and that surprised her more than anything else. People often hear rules as obstacles. I heard hers as a boundary drawn with care. Respecting it wasn't a sacrifice. It was the entry fee. We shared stories like secrets whispered to the dark. Not the polished versions we tell at dinners, but the rough-edged truths we usually keep hidden. She laughed when she talked about the girl she used to be, fearless and reckless. I smiled when I spoke about the man I became after learning to lose well. Somewhere between those confessions, the distance between us quietly disappeared. When we finally reached the door, there was a pause. The kind that asks a question without words. This was the moment where many stories either rush or retreat. We did neither. We stood there, breathing the same air, feeling the weight of choice. Consent isn't just a yes. Sometimes it's the calm certainty that you're both stepping forward with open eyes. Inside, the lights were low, and the world outside faded into irrelevance. Music hummed softly, not demanding attention, just filling the spaces between thoughts. We moved around each other with an awareness that felt almost ceremonial. Every glance lingered. Every touch was deliberate. Nothing was taken. Everything was offered. There's a difference between passion and presence. Passion can be loud, consuming, impatient. Presence is quieter, deeper, and far more dangerous. It makes you feel seen. That night, presence ruled. We paid attention to small things, the way her breath changed when she smiled, the warmth of a hand held just a second longer than necessary, the shared laughter that broke tension and built trust at the same time. Time slowed in the best possible way. Not because we were trying to stretch it, but because we were inside it completely. There was no rush to arrive anywhere else. No mental checklist. Just two people agreeing, without saying it out loud, to give the moment everything it deserved. When intimacy finally arrived, it did so gently, respectfully, like a conversation rather than a conquest. There was closeness without possession, desire without demand. The kind of connection that doesn't need to be explained afterward because it never tried to be something it wasn't. The world narrowed to heartbeats, to warmth, to the understanding that this was enough. Later, wrapped in quiet, she rested her head against my shoulder. Not claiming. Not promising. Just being. The room felt softer then, as if it approved of what had happened. Outside, the city continued its endless movement, unaware that something small and perfect had just occurred within its walls. She asked me why I'd agreed so easily to her rule. I told her the truth. Because moments don't become unforgettable by demanding more time. They become unforgettable by being fully lived. Because trying to turn one night into forever often destroys both. Because sometimes respect is the most attractive thing you can offer another person. She didn't answer right away. She traced invisible lines on my arm, thoughtful, quiet. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a new note, something softer. She said she couldn't remember the last time someone had made her feel safe without making her feel trapped. That mattered more to me than any extension of the deal. Dawn crept in slowly, pale light touching the edges of the room. Morning has a way of telling the truth. It reveals what's left when the night's magic thins out. There was no awkward scramble, no sudden distance. Just two people waking up exactly where they'd meant to be. We shared coffee and easy smiles. Conversation flowed without urgency. We didn't plan the future or rewrite the past. We simply acknowledged what had happened and allowed it to stand on its own. That kind of acceptance is rare, and it's beautiful. When it was time to leave, she didn't hesitate. Neither did I. At the door, we exchanged a look that said more than any promise could. Gratitude. Respect. A shared understanding that something meaningful doesn't need to continue to matter forever. She reminded me of her rule, almost playfully. One night. I nodded, honoring it the same way I had from the start. Then she surprised me. She kissed my cheek, gentle and unguarded, and said, "You kept your word." As I walked away, the city felt different. Not brighter, not louder. Just richer. I hadn't gained a relationship, a future, or a certainty. I'd gained something quieter and perhaps more valuable, proof that a single night, when treated with care and courage, can leave a lasting mark without leaving a scar. That's the secret no one talks about. Unforgettable doesn't mean endless. It means honest. It means showing up fully, respecting boundaries, and understanding that some connections are meant to be complete exactly as they are. One night can be enough, if you make it count.
The night didn't start with drama. It started with distance. The kind that exists not in space, but in intention. She stood a little apart, arms loosely crossed, expression calm but unreadable. When she spoke, her voice didn't shake. "One night," she said. "That's all you get." It wasn't a threat. It was a boundary, carefully placed, like a line drawn in soft sand but meant to be respected. She had learned, the hard way, that expectations grow faster than feelings. One night meant no promises, no explanations later, no emotional debts. It was her way of staying in control of a world that had taken too much from her before. I looked at her and saw more than the rule. I saw the effort it took to say it out loud. People think boundaries are walls, but often they're scars shaped into rules. I didn't feel challenged. I felt